morning, Facebook. Hope you've had your coffee today. That's about my third cup already. Of course, I do get up at around 5 o'clock to start my devotions and my long journey to being able to look like I'm alive and ready to take on the world. Looks like a little bit of a cooler day today, but still a lovely day. No, I plan on getting out and doing some biking or walking, whatever my daughter's up to. She's getting used to sitting on the seat of a mountain bike, which can be a little bit uncomfortable at first. But good morning. Today's study came out of a little bit more in-depth look at a verse in my Bible Apps verse of the day. The study's really not on the verse of the day. It was much earlier on in chapter 3 of Revelation, and it's the title for today's message is excuse me, John 3:16 to Revelation 3:16, avoiding lukewarm. Now, while we know the original text scribed long ago that makes up our Bible today was not arranged in chapters and all organized with verses, as we're accustomed to. However, one cannot help but assume that the Spirit of God, whose story the Bible is, the book of love, as some might refer to it, for mankind, the Bible belongs to him, and that he had a hand in guiding those who put it together to become what we know as the Bible, in a nice handy little booklet rather than a bunch of Dead Sea Scrolls and, things you might have to carry in a backpack. Can I prove that? No, not any more than anybody else can disprove that God did not have a hand in the orchestration of the Bible. So let's just agree to agree, for lack of a better term. So in my studies this morning, diving into Revelation chapter 3, a little tongue-tied here. I think you guys are the first ones that I've spoke to this morning, and it's not all cleared out, and things are not flowing as well. So I'm going to start that over again. So in my studies this morning, diving into Revelation chapter 3, I saw what appeared to be the Spirit of God paralleling the same chapter and verse numbers from two different books of the Bible, but to be further intervention or coincidence, as you might call it, as some may say, both books also happen to be written by the Apostle John. So in John 3:16, which we all, or for the most part, all know, God sends his one and only Son to die on the cross to redeem us, a love so committed it is even hard for some of us to grasp. And some of that we've talked about in the last week or so in some of my studies. However, in Revelation, ironically, if you want to say that, I say planned, Revelation 3:16, we have something completely that I guess without study and research really kind of might throw some people for a loop, as it says God vomits out the lukewarm sinner. Wow. How do we go from God's beloved, in John 3:16 to God's vomit in Revelation 3:16? And more importantly, how do we see to it that our relationship with Jesus Christ does not become lukewarm and avoid being spewed or vomited from God's own mouth. So to start, let's take a look at what exactly is meant in Revelation 3:16 to neither be hot or cold. In typical understanding, people of today think it means Jesus is saying, if you're lukewarm, you're kind of sitting on the fence, which is somewhat true, but to further say that hot or cold means Jesus is saying we are to love him or we are to hate him, that is far from the truth and far from the intention of the message in 3:16, which was given to John literally by Jesus. Jesus is telling us to serve a purpose in 3:16. Hot water could heal. Cold water could refresh. We should bring a similar blessing to people around us. To see people around us. Now, looking at the times of when this was spoken, we all know that Jesus liked to use metaphors, as he was in regards to Revelation 3:16. So, taking you through a little bit more of the history of what was going on in those times and where that reference and that metaphor came from. You see, in that day and age, the large populations and extensive textile industry in Laodicea required an ample water supply. 3 major cities around the valley, Laodicea, Colossia, and Hierapolis, all had distinct water sources. Laodicea piped water from the mountains to the south. After 6 miles in an aqueduct, the water arrived lukewarm with a gritty concentration of calcium carbonate. And Colossia was tucked into the foot of Mount Honaz, where cold mountain water ran off, water poured down to supply the city with fresh water. So a much cleaner water, and cold, and as Bible alludes to, refreshing. In Hierapolis was positioned on a magnificent hot spring that emitted mineral-rich waters, attracting visitors from all over Asia to its therapeutic baths. So you could say like the past equivalent to essential oils, or or Epsom salt baths. So all 3 cities lie around the Lycus River Valley, but their water supplies distinguished them. Whereas Hierapolis had hot water beneficial for therapeutic purposes, and Colossia had cold water for refreshing drink, Laodicea piped water was best suited for textile industry or flushing the city's plumbing system. Definitely doesn't sound like you want to drink it. So if you ingested that water, it would function as a stimulus to cause you to vomit. So obviously it was a nasty, not healthy water to drink, like stagnant water from a puddle and so forth, and it would literally cause you to vomit. So now you should see more clearly the local dynamic that is revealed in the meaning of Jesus' message to Laodicea. Jesus uses their water supply as a spiritual metaphor. I know your deeds, that you are neither cold or hot. I wish that you were cold or hot. So cold or hot is not for me or against me. It's effective. The hot water had therapeutic benefits. The cold water had refreshing benefits. So he is comparing the lukewarm water that causes you to vomit as ineffective. And in relationship to what he's talking about, lukewarm Christians ineffective to the kingdom. And his reference to saying, just as that lukewarm water would cause you to vomit, if you serve me in a lukewarm manner, then I will vomit you out of my mouth. So, he says, so because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will vomit you out of my mouth. And that is a mixture of Revelation 3:15 and 16. So, now Colossae is cold, fresh mountain water, and Hierapolis is medicinal hot springs outclassed Laodicea's lukewarm water supply that made people vomit after drinking. Cold water and hot water sources had great personal value. Laodicea lukewarm water had the same personal value that complacent members of the Laodicea church had to the cause of Christ, which sadly would be classified and was classified by Jesus as not much. They were ineffective. So again, Jesus was not saying, I want you to hate or love him, but rather remind us that we were meant to serve him. Our actions were meant to embody his values and contribute to his redemptive mission. When we just live for ourselves, when we are selfish and we are living for ourselves, like lukewarm water, and contributed to the wealth, as the lukewarm water contributed to the wealth of Laodicea's textile industry, and sort of served as idolatry, placing the people's actions over truly honoring Jesus and having a personal relationship with him. They were in fact useless to his kingdom and ineffective. They were, as you might say, Sunday Christians. And I think in one of my story posts on my personal page, I posted a couple scriptures from Revelation, and one was from 3:16. It's on the screen, but of course I add to the images to put a little bit more depth to them and reflection. And I wrote one that basically said the devil will even allow the erecting of churches as long as the people that go to them are going there on Sunday and essentially living the rest of the week as if he were their father rather than God being their father. So when we live lukewarm, we lose our purpose while serving ourselves rather than Jesus. And let me say that again in a different way too, because I think sometimes people lose context of this. When we live lukewarm, we lose our purpose while serving ourselves over serving Jesus and over serving others, which is what Jesus has called us to. Jesus is calling us to be hot or to be cold, to be effective, to embrace our redemptive role in his mission. What are you doing? I know I'm trying to make my life and my words impactful for Jesus and not be lukewarm. Do I occasionally find myself being lukewarm? Absolutely. None of us is perfect. But being an example to and refreshing the souls of those lost in self-reliant rat race is my primary mission, and bringing Jesus to them and living for Jesus every day of the week, every hour of the day, every minute of the hour, is my goal. So the relationship I draw between John 3:16 and Revelation 3:16 is that John 3:16 is God's profession of his love and Jesus's actionable demonstration of his love, while Revelation 3:16 is our call to action for our love for Jesus and commitment to truly follow him, not just on Sundays, but as a lifestyle and in full accordance to his word, not just the parts we pick and choose. Now let me say that another way, that it is our part to follow Jesus and to love others and to be at peace and to put aside anger and wrath and to live at peace as much as it depends on us with the brethren, to be full of grace and mercy, to have people be able to see that there is something different about you. If they hear you screaming at your kids just like everybody else, or you walk around in a mopey, depressed mode all the time, or you're negative, that is lukewarm. That's neither hot nor cold. It's not therapeutic. It's not refreshing. So really, really, really meditate on what I have spoke about today and go back to the scriptures yourself, and look up some commentary on it. But lukewarm, can even be in how we're studying our Bible, or going through our feeds and liking everything that has a Christian label to it, but not really reading the words or reflecting on them. Again, I compare that to fortune cookie Christianity, grabbing onto the promises, that people like to write. Today, God's going to give you everything that you've been waiting for. The time has come. Where did that come from? I mean, sure, the Bible promises that God will meet our needs, but that is just a human being's, I don't think they mean anything harmful by it, but that is just that. If that's your Christian life, if that's your Bible study, if that's your devotion, if that's a big part of your life, you're living lukewarm. So live deep for Jesus, live deep for others, show Jesus' love to one another, make it a full-time job. I didn't say it's going to be perfect. I didn't say that you're going to hit it right every single day of the week. But don't be lukewarm in that Jesus wishes to vomit you out of his mouth. The very thought of that is like him turning and saying, I never knew you. And I don't know about you, but when my time on this earth is done, I want to hear, well done, good and faithful subject. Have a blessed day. Love you. You guys are always in my prayers. Have a terrific day outside. Take care of yourselves. And I look forward to talking to you tomorrow.